Hey! I am so glad you're here. Of all the interests and hobbies that I have picked up over the years, video games, it's always been more of a casual interest for me. I like Mario Kart, I like Princess Peach Showtime, love Super Mario Galaxy, I do love Super Mario Galaxy. I don't like playing it, but I like watching it. Anyway, not important. It's been kind of a more casual interest until I got Animal Crossing. I love Animal Crossing. It's an adorable world without any consequences. You can have a house, you can afford to decorate said house, and you can have a lovely little garden that will actually live instead of everything shriveling up in the summer sun, and the only thing that survives you're apparently mildly allergic to, which makes eating it very uncomfortable. I filmed a video about making a garden this year and it didn't turn out. But in Animal Crossing, I can grow whatever I want. And one of my favorite things to do in Animal Crossing is changing my character's look every day. Hair color, hairstyle, clothing. I go with the seasons. You know I love a theme. So I'm gonna make my favorite clothes from Animal Crossing. When I'm choosing what pieces to make though, I think I have to limit myself a little bit on which pieces I choose because some of them just look like normal clothes. So it has to be something that is identifiably from Animal Crossing. Whether it's the pattern, the cut, the color, it has to look like it's from Animal Crossing. But it's been so long, I think I should do some research to decide what to make. So I began my research. I opened the game to find that I have a new villager I've never seen before, and went into my little home when my manager appeared to make sure I was being productive. And it's been longer than I thought since I've played the game because I had the cockroaches of shame. But I kind of liked having them around, so I let them stay.
Ooh. You know what? You can stay. You gotta move, friend. I'm gonna step on you and I don't want to.
Although before diving in, I took a quick trip to Abel's sister's shop to say hello to Mabel and Sable. Like I do every time I play the game. And then on the way out I found a scorpion, which I tried.
Oh no.
And failed to catch.
Ah, shoot.
And decided no more distractions, let's look at the closet. I just kind of went with the things that were top of the brain. This forest print dress, this flower print dress, and this peasant blouse. So I closed up the closet, and because I was so distracted by my manager throwing a fit, I accidentally stepped on one of the cockroaches. After I changed my outfit, I went down Pine Tree Pass to my flower field, checked on my garden, caught a big fish, caught him off, said hello to my volcanoes, and ended my research session there. Starting off with the peasant blouse, as far as patterns go, I knew right away I'd have to Frankenstein something together, so I took the length and width of an off-the-shoulder blouse and combined it with the shoulder and neckline of a bodice from a dress I use pretty often. I decided to put all of the pieces through my serger to protect the edges and hemmed the front, back, and sleeve pieces. I did attach the bodice at the shoulders though, and this is when I felt something sharp in the thread. The broken end of one of my serger needles. It finally happened. A serger needle broke, and although I was shocked, I was glad it stayed lodged in the fabric and not in my eye. But we'll check back in with the serger later. Right now, we have a lot of embroidery to make. And by embroidery, I mean crochet. I figured with such large pieces on the shirt, it might be easier and more effective to crochet the shapes first and then sew them to the blouse. So I started making the trim around the neckline and on the sleeves, making the band on the sleeves a little bit thicker with a second row of double crochets. Then it was time to make some stuff up and intuitive crochet each of the different shapes. Figuring out how to make the shapes was easy. The tricky part was replicating what I had just done by memory because I didn't write it down. If I do remember what I did, I'll put the patterns on the screen. It took a little bit of trial and error for each piece, but it was kind of fun to figure it out. Surprisingly, the most difficult one to make was the little leafy thing, which was unfortunate only because I needed 8 of them. After taking roll call, I made the little tie on the front just by making a very long line of chain stitches, bending it together, and stitching it in place. I also added little tassels to the ends of each tie. Trying to sew them on with the machine was easy in some ways, but harder in others. It was easy because the machine did all the needlework for me. It was hard because I had to continuously readjust the placement of the machine foot, the fabric, the yarn, or all of the above. So I decided to stitch everything on by hand instead. Did this take a while? Yes, but I honestly think fighting with the machine every 3 stitches would have taken longer. After many gnarly finger pricks and 3 different shades of green thread, everything was finally attached, which meant it was time to put all of the blouse pieces together. And ooh, was I excited! One of my favorite shirts from the game was now in my hands. But no time to celebrate. We have to make the flower print dress, which might be my favorite from the game. I didn't really have a pattern that fit this style of dress, so I decided to use my pride dress as a pattern. Now, the sleeves and skirt on the pride dress were separate pieces that were all sewn together, but for my flower dress, I'd like it all to be 1 piece in the front and 1 piece in the back, so I cut 2 dress-shaped pieces out on the fold. At the time, I wasn't sure what the fit would be like because of this, but I had enough green left over to fix it later if it was a problem. Speaking of problems, since I plan on wearing this often, I wanted to protect the edges with my serger, which meant learning how to replace the needles. And I hate to admit it, but it took me far too long to figure out how to get the old needles out. And while my eyes definitely read the instructions I looked up, my brain decided to ignore everything I read. But once I locked in, I learned that they're held in place with 2 tiny screws on the front, and once I loosened those, the needle just fell right out. I put a little test piece of fabric through it first, and it seemed to work, so I got to it. Once the edges were covered, I began making the flowers. To make crisp, cartoony edges, I decided to use iron-on vinyl for the petals and fabric for the center. There's a flower on the front and the back, which were done in no time. Then I hemmed the sleeves and decided to test the neck hole before adding bias tape, which is good because it didn't fit my big ol' head. After a quick run through the serger again, it fit just fine. But that's when I realized. Daddy! The daisy or egg conundrum struck me again. I fear I'll never escape it. Moving on, I took some yellow ribbon from this cute thrifted trim to make the yellow bands on the sleeves. Sewed the front and back pieces together, and then it was done. There's still one more piece to make, however, and that's the forest print dress. I first took note of the pattern on the dress so that I'd know how many patches of each shape to make to be sewn onto the dress. I originally planned to use the same brown fabric from the blouse, and I was going to sacrifice my kitchen curtains for the patches. But then I remembered I already have a brown dress that I don't really wear that often. So I decided to remove the white trim and give that one a second life. It's jersey knit fabric though, and I didn't feel like fighting with it to stitch so many patches onto it, so I changed my plan, and my kitchen curtains live to see another day. I made some cardboard stamps of each shape and decided to paint them on by mixing acrylic paint with fabric medium. At first, I questioned how much coverage these crinkly cardboard stamps would provide, so I mainly used them as a tool to create outlines that I later filled in by hand. I had a few accidents with the paint, but channeling Bob Ross, I embraced the happy little accidents and turned those blobs into hearts. When the front dried, I removed and replaced the paper I had stashed in between layers to prevent the paint seeping through, and started painting on the back. The shapes on the front took about an hour to fill in by hand, so this time I tried to cover more ground from the get-go by covering the entire stamp with paint, and it sort of worked, but they were, as I feared, pretty splotchy, so I ended up filling them in by hand anyway, to make sure that every nook and cranny was covered. That dried overnight, then I added to the sleeves and made a collar the next day, which meant everything was done, and it's time for the reveal. Well, that went well. I've been wanting to do this for a while, basically since I got the game over a year ago, so to finally cross this off my list makes me very happy. I love how everything turned out. Even the forest print dress, which is a little bit splotchy. I kind of wish I had just made the dress from scratch, but making a second brown dress that looked almost exactly like one I already had didn't make any sense to me, so I really wanted to make that work however I could. The sleeves are not long sleeves like they are in the game, but that's me splitting hairs. I really do like how it turned out in the end. This dress I think is my favorite, even though I put all of that time and attention into the peasant blouse, which I do really love. This dress has been a favorite of mine since I first got it in the game, and I've always wanted it in real life, and that's the magical thing about learning how to make your own clothes, is that you can truly make anything you want. Yeah, I really like how everything turned out, and if you do too, you can let me know by hitting the like button. And if you want to see what I'm doing next and join the channel, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to know when I post, hit the notification bell. YouTube will let you know. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!